Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Wilmington School Committee for February 11th, 2009. Welcome to everyone who's joined us in the audience. Glad to see you. All members are present, Trish. We have a number of items in the consent agenda. I've asked the superintendent to withdraw 4 of the items which we will vote on separately, and they would be 4 sets of minutes from executive session. So we'll take one vote on those after we've taken a vote on the rest of the consent items. So, Mrs. Benton.
Good evening, everyone. There are 8 items on the consent agenda. I'm going to present them in two parts. The first 4 items, the minutes of the January 21st regular session, the approval of an out-of-state field trip for the high school band to Orlando, Florida, the acceptance of a donation from the Wilmington Historical Society, and we have someone here this evening to do a presentation, and approval of an overnight field trip for the DECA group to attend the Boston Marriott Next Step Up competition in the spring. I do want to note that the high school band to Orlando will not take place unless Barbara Meddy is guaranteed that all students can participate. And she has promised me that it will only happen if everyone can attend. But needs to go ahead now in order to do fundraising and start the survey and approval and send the tape of the band to the Orlando.
All right.
I recommend favorable action on all these.
Okay, I would entertain a motion. Where there are so many to that effect, I'll let the person making the motion list them again. Who would like to make?
Acknowledge Carolyn here.
Yes, I'm going to.
Before
Yes.
they vote it?
Yep. Give it to Jim. Okay. Excuse me, you know what we're going to do now? Sorry, we really do have this together. We would like to recognize Carolyn Harris. We're so pleased to see you. The president of the Historical Association?
The chairman of the Historical Commission.
Commission, okay. Thank you. Would you like to come and sit at the table with us? And here is another example of the community and the schools working together. We are so excited when this happens, and to have members of the community come join us and work together like this.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Carolyn.
Thank you for having me. Madam Chairperson, members of the Wilmington School Committee, and Superintendent Benton, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm sort of the senior chair of the Wilmington Historical Commission. I've had the position now for 23 years, so that makes me senior. And it's a job that I truly love. The mission of the Wilmington Historical Commission is preservation, education, and conservation of Wilmington's history and heritage. And I'm here tonight actually for 2 reasons. First, I would just like to thank the wonderful Wilmington teachers for their support of the Wilmington Town Museum. We created the Town Museum in 1999 with the vision that it would become a living museum, that we would offer tours, lectures, exhibits, historical reenactments, and social activities for the community that would really attract all facets of the community, but particularly we were looking at our student population. The feeling of the commission, and I think of every educator, is that it is important to educate our children as to the community they live in and the municipal government that they live under. And with that in mind, we've created a number of programs, and we have openly sought a collaboration with the schools. That being said, we've had a wonderful year this year. We've had over 800 people come through our museum, and attend our programs, and many of those were students. And I would certainly want to give credit to Terry McDermott, who is our curator. Many of you know Terry and the wonderful job that she has been doing at the museum for the past 4 years. We certainly wouldn't be in the position we are today with 800 people coming through without her sense of what's important, what programs to run, and so forth. So students that we've had come through are kindergarten classes, and she's tailored her presentation to the kindergarten classes, keeping in mind the Massachusetts curriculum frameworks for history and social science. We've gone through those very carefully when we think in terms of giving students tours, what's important, what they would see, and so forth. We've had students, high school students, and I certainly wish to thank the Social Studies Chair, Brian Carr, for his encouragement of students to attend many of our activities. Matthew Hackett as well, and Jason Fredette from the Wildwood School has been very instrumental. And we welcome every school, every age student to come through and to enjoy our historic resources. But tonight, in addition, I'm here because, keeping in mind the collaboration we've always wanted with the schools, we sort of usually do this quietly, but we wanted to donate copies of our historic publications to each of the schools for them to have in their libraries. I know at certain times of the year we all get calls from students that they want to know, you know, where the old theater was or whatever, because they're doing a particular project. So we thought having some local history resources in each of the schools would be an important asset for the schools. So with that in mind, we are donating Images of America by Paul Chalafour, and Wilmington, A Celebration of Our Times by Paul Chalafour, a graduate of Wilmington High School. And from Jerry O'Reilly, who's another, amazing historian in town. We have 3 publications. He calls us Wilmington Old Sports. It's actually teams and from the 1930s to the 1960s, and I'm very pleased to say that he's doing new sports coming up in March. So we'll have volume 2 of that. Wilmington, a retrospective, and Silver Lake, a collection of memories. In addition, I certainly, as we're talking about Wilmington historians, would like to mention Adele Passmore, who wrote the Wilmington Bicentennial History. All of these books, as well as Adele's books, can be found in the library, and unfortunately Adele's book is no longer in print. But you can certainly see Adele's work. She is our exhibit director at the Town Museum and responsible for the many fine exhibits over the past few years. So I certainly wanted to mention her to you as well. And I thank you very much. I hope the students continue to come and learn more about the community in which they live. And I appreciate being here.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you very much. Do we have any comments from the... Those will be a wonderful addition to the school libraries for sure. Thank you. All right. So do we have a motion? Now we can approve the acceptance of the gift. Do we have a motion on these consensus items? Yes, Mrs. Duffy.
Motion to
challenge.
approve of the out-of-state field trip for the high school band. Motion to accept the donation of Wilmington Historical Society for the libraries, and a motion to approve the overnight field trip DECA to the Boston Marriott Copley. And do you have that first set of minutes on there?
Yes.
Approval of the January 21st, 2009 regular session minutes.
Okay, do we have a second? Second, Dr. Quick. Any discussion? Mrs. Peterson?
I did notice just one small typo as to a name, but I just included it in the minutes.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous, Trish. Okay, and the second set would be,
Recommending approval, not for release, of the executive session minutes of January 21st, December 6th, 2008, January 7th, 2009, and January 13th, 2009. Not for release.
and do we have a motion to accept those? Mrs. Peterson?
I move that we accept the January 21st, 2009 executive minutes not for release, December 6, 2008 executive session minutes not for release, January 7th, 2009 executive session not for release minutes, as well as January 13th, 2009 executive session minutes not for release.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. Higgins? Okay, all those in favor? Trish, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, we're 5 in favor, abstain, 2 abstain. Mrs. Cushing and myself. And now I think would be a perfect time, are you ready?
Yes, I am, I think.
Mr. Higgins would like to make a short announcement.
All right. It gives me great pleasure to let everyone know that tonight, the school committee has accepted the memorandum of agreement with the teachers that was presented to us tonight. I'd like to thank everyone that was involved for their patience, and now we can get back to work without this hanging over our heads. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. All right. And now, we have not had you for a while here, Nick. We missed you, and we heard you did an outstanding job at the school play. So now that you're back, Student School Committee.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening. It's been a very active and exciting months of January and February, and continuing on into February. Some things that happened is the Drama Club, as you said, put on the production of Anything Goes, which was a wonderful night. All 4 nights were just about sold out, and it was a great show. Students participated in a job shadow day last Friday. This was a great opportunity for seniors and some juniors to explore a field where they may be interested in someday, so many had a good time for that. Last week, the junior and senior classes held a wonderful prom fashion show, and we ended up raising about $800. There was a glow dance held last Saturday night. This was a fundraiser for the DECA Club to defray the cost of their state finals trip to Boston, as you said, to the Boston Marriott Copley. Mock trial's last competition is tomorrow against Lawrence High School. They successfully won against Drake High School, but lost against Phillips Academy, and unfortunately have to win all 3 rounds to go on to the state level, but they've had a wonderful season with that. Monday night was a Royal Dynasty fundraiser for the senior class, which went very well, and we hope to get a lot of money back from them to help with our prom and other graduation activities. Winter sports are doing great. John Perella, Jimmy DiNuccio, Bobby Folk, and Caleb Rogers broke the state relay record for the 4x400 yesterday by 5 seconds. So we applaud them for doing that. Great job to them. There was talent show auditions happening this week, so we hope to put on a wonderful talent show in March coming up. Wilmington is participating in the Relay for Life, raising money for cancer research, and there's a kickoff meeting tomorrow night at 6:30 in the CAF. We hope that a lot of students in our school and in the community get involved with this wonderful event. The Model UN Club is preparing for the conference in Washington, D.C. next month, so they are very excited for that. And also the Foreign Language Club is getting ready for their second cultural festival, which will be held in March as well. And finally, students and faculty are getting ready and wrapping up for a wonderful vacation, and we wish everyone a relaxing week off. So thank you.
Sure do. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Yes, Mrs. Benton.
I just want to acknowledge the incredible production, Anything Goes. If you did not happen to catch it, you miss an incredible performance. We, sometimes focus on the academics or on sports, but truly we have a group of students and staff at the high school that are extremely talented and artistically so, and the production was just amazing, and I want to applaud everyone that was involved, because the backstage crew and the set design and costume design and the choreographer, as well as all the actors and actresses on stage, are to be commended. It was a fabulous, fabulous performance. So thank you for an enjoyable evening.
Thank you for coming.
Very nice. That's it. All right, thank you, Nick. I must say, just for myself, sometimes I wish I were a kid again, when I hear all the wonderful opportunities that you have. Okay, the superintendent's report.
I actually had 5 items because I was going to also put in a plug for Relay for Life. As you recall, this is the charity that the school department has voted to support this year, and we're really hoping that staff and students and community members come out for the Relay for Life that will be happening May 16th into May 17th. I participated in one of these 6 years ago in Lexington, and I will be there with the team. It's a wonderful community builder and a great cause, raising funds for cancer. Anybody who can attend kickoff meeting tomorrow night at the high school at 6:30. I understand pizza is being provided, and we're really hoping that the school committee will also get involved on a team as well, and look forward to participating. My other 4 items.
Okay, who started this rumor?
I got plucked from the committee before getting here tonight, so.
Oh, let's go, what? What, we're running?
You can walk it. You can walk the track.
Great.
2 appointments this evening. Ronald Sonkin, mathematics teacher at the high school, who came in to replace Gail Massey, who retired a couple of weeks ago, and a new technician, Marcus Hayden, who will be joining us next Tuesday. Pleased to announce we had a very successful search for a Woburn Street and Wildwood principal, and had outstanding candidates and an excellent search advisory committee, and have appointed Joel Sanderson, who's currently the assistant principal at Shawsheen, to be the new principal at Woburn Street and Wildwood. Joel has been with us for 2.5 years, and he has certainly made his mark in Wilmington, and his belief in, I love the way he answered this question about the most important role of a principal is building relationships between students and staff and parents. He thought was the most important role of an elementary principal. I think he's going to do a terrific job, and we congratulate him. I've enclosed in your packet a very interesting enrollment projection report done by NESDEC. As you know, they specialize in looking at 10-year enrollments, and interesting phenomena in Wilmington is that they're predicting that our K-5 will shrink another 113 students over the next decade. The middle school by 137, and the high school level will decline by 65. And actually, this is very timely because it plays into the budget for next year, and sort of confirms the recommendation that I've made to reduce 6 classroom positions next year at the elementary level based on enrollment. Interesting that they note a couple of reasons: migration in and out of the schools, and as we all know, because of the economy, a slower rate of sales of houses. But we will continue to use this data as we plan. Looking back over the past 4 years, school department projected enrollments were right on the money with theirs, so that's good news. And lastly, in your report is an update from Dr. McGinn on grants that we have applied for. One, a global education grant through Primary Source to support Lisa Lucia and Mara Tucker's course, Facing History and Ourselves. We're applying for a Danvers Bank grant in order to, if you recall, earlier in this year, we had applied to the state for a gifted and talented grant and were turned down. It was pointed out to us of an opportunity through Danvers Bank grant, and so we've applied for a grant through them in order to do this, provide the same program, which is to purchase a software program and train all 4th and 5th grade teachers. And lastly, we've been invited by Reading Public Schools to participate in the Teaching American History grant, which is for American history teachers at the high school. So we will keep you abreast of our progress.
Any questions or comments on these? I would just like to say on these grants, let's hope we get some of them, but the fact that the people have really worked hard to do them, and facing history is close to my heart because I did teach it for 5 years, and there is so much to be gained from that curriculum. And the idea that the teaching history, when there was something that they did on one of the grants, and it really didn't come to fruition, but because of the connection with Reading, the teachers thought outside of the box, and they're able to get basically the same grant if it works through. They'll get exactly what they had tried for in the other grant. So one thing I did learn in grant writing was you have to give them exactly what they want when you write that grant, not what you want. But I wish you luck in this, and I think it's fantastic. Thank you. We'll be waiting to hear that we got these. Thank you. All right. Our next item of business would be old business, FY 2010 budget. Mrs. Benton.
When last I was before you, back in December, I had put forth a requested budget of $31,279,642. That was a budget request with an increase of 6.9%. It was my feeling at the time that this was a budget that could really move Wilmington Public Schools forward, continue to add electives at the high school, and continue our textbook adoption cycle, and provide us with a forward-thinking budget. As you all know, the state and the federal government's deficits have increased over and over again to the trillions, and we learned back in January that the governor was going to make have to cut Chapter 70 funds this year, which he did to the tune of $300,000. However, we will be okay for this year. That being said, the town manager re-looked at his 2010 numbers, and last Monday night recommended an increase of 2.53% in the school department budget. That gives us an additional $740,500. That is reflected in a 1.55% increase on the salary line and a 6.17% increase on non-salary, which is mostly special education out-of-district placements. This evening, I come before you with a proposed budget of $30 million, which is a 2.53% increase. I just want to remind everyone what we had cut previous to this evening. We had not filled a .6 position at the high school English teacher position this year. First round of reductions based on enrollment. I had reduced the Shawsheen School by 2 teachers, in the West by 2 teachers, and we had a third security monitor in the budget that we had never filled, and we are recommending that we do not fill that position. If you look at the handout in front of you, the PowerPoint, there's an elementary enrollment. In reducing, my recommendation is that we reduce the staff at Shawsheen by 3 teachers. It would still allow one of the priorities of the school committee, which is favorable class size. Class sizes would go from 20 students to a teacher to 22 students from a teacher. And actually, the first grade numbers here are pumped up based on, I always build in for students moving into the district, although with full-day kindergarten, we're not seeing the bump as we usually do between kindergarten and first grade. A reduction of 1 teacher at Woburn Street. One thing that the school committee prides itself on, and I condemn them and commend them for it, is equality. Condemn. That's, whoa, long day.
We didn't do it.
Equality on both sides of town, and we want to keep the class sizes as close as possible on both sides of town. Woburn Street, we would lose one teacher. At the north, the numbers are high. We would not recommend any reductions there, and reduction of 1 4th and 1 5th grade teacher at the west. This is a total of 6 positions. I do want the public and the audience to know that we believe through attrition and requests for maternity leaves that we will be able to absorb all of those positions so that no one loses their position. March 1st is the date that teachers need to let us know if they are requesting another full year leave. So I will have better information for you on March 11th. Additional salary reductions that I am recommending is one teacher at the middle school. Again, their enrollment has gone down. Their next year's 6th grade class is the smallest class to ever hit the middle school.
Wow.
2 ed assistant positions, and those are based on students that had ed assistants attached to their education plans who will be matriculating. So we won't need those positions. I am recommending the elimination of the library aide at the high school. 1 reading specialist at the elementary level. Again, there's a retirement, so no one will lose their position. The reading specialist time is based on, specialist time is based on need. And again, there are 122 less students at the elementary level next year, so we can do without that position. And the copy aide position, we're going to absorb that position into another existing secretarial position. Those are the salary reductions. The non-salary reductions I'm recommending is a 25% across the cut reduction in supplies, office supplies, school supplies, professional development, postponement of complete textbook adoption. There is still funds in there, but are not enough to do a whole cycle. Reduction in the substitute account, reduction in advertising, postage, equipment, maintenance, and repairs. I will be coming to you on March 11th to recommend that we join School Springs, which is a company that does online and globe advertisements for schools. It also is done all electronically, so we would eliminate all of the paper collection in our office of resumes, and I believe it'll be cost effective to join School Springs for a year. Is equivalent to the cost of 2 ads in the Globe. Wow. Now, we normally do 8 to 10 ads in the Globe, and I think that they've gotten cost prohibitive, so I would rather put our energy into a product that will do even more for us. I am going to be recommending that with the reduction in postage, it might mean that parents are going to have to pick up report cards at school, but although this isn't a very, I need to tell you that $1.1 million is a lot of money to cut from a budget without doing harm to students and teachers. So what you are seeing and what you will see next year is lots of reductions to things we take for granted, including all the copy paper and Kleenex and crayons and pencils. There's going to be a large reduction in that. However, I believe it makes more sense to sacrifice materials for a year than it is to affect programs and staffing. I am recommending the elimination of 2 buses because our enrollment has gone down since the middle school was open, and I believe that with a little bit of sacrifice on the part of parents in moving of bus stops a little further away, that we can save 4 teachers by eliminating 2 buses, and I would prefer to do that. Also, elimination of the late bus at the middle school. You will notice a significant change in the SPED increases from when I first came before you and now. We were fortunate in that one of the families has moved out of town, and so we do not have to pay an out-of-district placement on that one. Another student is matriculating at 22, so we won't have to pay that one. Mrs. Potter and Mr. Ruggiero went through every single line item of that budget. If you will see, some of our reductions are $192, but that's how we went through every single line item of the budget under every single account. Nothing was sacred except for classroom teachers in our priority of proposing a budget to you this evening. That being said, what I believe the budget does do for us, and I'm pleased about this, is continues to support a very successful full-day kindergarten program with full-time aides in every kindergarten. Continues to provide early intervention at the kindergarten level with reading support. Provides funding for the NEASC accreditation visit in March at the high school, and that includes funds for teachers who are going above and beyond the call as far as work having to do with the accreditation process, and we'll be doing more of that come July 1st. Continues to offer a new and improved business technology department at the high school, designed to develop financial literacy, knowledge, and competencies necessary for our students to meet the challenges of a 21st century. Continues the virtual classroom at the high school, which allows 25 students a semester to enroll in advanced placement courses, or courses that we just cannot offer. In fact, I see the teacher in the audience this evening, and I'm hoping that she'll come back in the spring and give the school committee a report on her experience with this. If you recall, we had a student take a Irish Lit course this year that we could never have offered, and it just, opened up a whole new world. We are eliminating the night school, and this will be an opportunity for students who need extra courses to be able to use the virtual high school to meet their requirements. We continue to meet the new state requirements, providing services to English language learner students. We'll be able to continue to provide a teacher mentoring program for our new staff and continue the technology initiatives begun 5 years ago to improve student learning, and also supports the 5-year strategic plan. While this is a budget that does not cover all the increases that we want, I do have to say that I feel fortunate that we are able to maintain the staff and maintain the outstanding programs and that we have in Wilmington. We'll be able to move forward with them. In addition, this year we've got a little bit of a change. I asked the town manager if we could include technology purchases in the capital line item, so we've requested $138,850 out of the capital line item to replace all the high school computers and purchase some smart boards and projectors for the high school. In addition, there is a $60,000 capital outlay to replace the fire alarm system at the Wildwood, $150,000 for a fire alarm system at the Shawsheen, $235,000 item for Woburn Street to replace all floors at the Woburn Street, $19,000 to put in a handicap chairlift for the stage at the West, and bond authorization for replacement of all of the exterior windows at the Shawsheen for a tune of $620,000. This Shawsheen School is getting a lot, but they're in need of a lot. There's a lot of the windows. There's been a lot of leaks at the school and a lot of energy waste because it's going out the windows. So I'm pleased that this is going to be included on a warrant, which you will be asked to vote on at the March 11th. And Woburn Street School floors are an accident waiting to happen. A lot of the tiles are chipped, and we need to do asbestos abatement and replace all the floors. So those two schools will be out of commission this summer. So I was looking at the calendar the other day, and first time that I'm happy that Labor Day is on the 7th this year, because we come back actually a week later. We'll be coming back on the 31st, so it'll give us an extra week to get the schools in shape. So, that is my recommendation to you as far as the fiscal 2010 budget. We will be appearing at the Finance Committee on March 3rd to defend our budget. Need to hold a public hearing on our budget March 11th, and we'll ask you to vote a budget on March 11th, and then we have town meeting on May 2nd. Glad to entertain questions.
Does anyone on the committee have any questions or comments? Mrs. Peterson?
I just want to say, Mrs. Benton, it's just a great plan. I mean, just the work that you've put in it, I mean, in your staff just shows you went line by line. Even $192 somewhere can go somewhere else, and I just commend you on doing just a great job, and yet we're still making improvements and growing. And I just think you did a great job. Thank you.
And I'm glad you acknowledged, I should have prefaced it, the entire leadership team met with me again last Friday to review the list, and I wanted to make sure going forward that everyone was on board. And I forgot one other thing. We are also going to be going into the summer camp business. The athletic budget, as you know, is a budget that we have never been able to completely support through the operating budget, and have had to use the revolving account to do a lot of fundraising. And as you know, during the summer, there have been lots of private camps going on at Wilmington High in the middle school, and I asked Mr. Harrison to come up with a proposal for us to offer those camps so that we can use the profits to put towards the athletic budget. And actually, I met with Mr. Harrison today, and we are hoping to get that out to everyone right after vacation, because we know people are making summer plans, but we're hoping to offer basketball camps and football camp and field hockey camp, and we're hoping to use some of our staff members to be hiring some of our own staff members to run some of those camps this summer, and then the school department can use the profits to put back into the athletic department. Trying to get, be a little thinking outside of the box and finding ways to bring in income. So,
That's fantastic.
we hope the public will stay tuned for those camps and send their children.
All right. Did someone else have their hand raised over here? No. Ms. O'Connell, did you?
On the capital expenditures, are those estimated costs, or have they already been put out to bid?
Those are estimates that Mr. Hooper received. Once it's approved, then they have to go out to bid.
Okay.
Anyone else? I think this just shows a couple of things. One is that in working together, Mrs. Benton made sure that the focus was on that teacher-student relationship as key to our school system. And every time that she and her leadership team have gone over the budget, and every time we've gotten more information on it, you always expect, oh, there's going to be one or two or some layoffs here, and it just didn't happen. And I think that that's outstanding that she and the team were able to do this. And I also think that when we're hearing what's happening, and I know we saw, most of us or some of us saw, Channel 4 did a nice piece on Mr. Kyra and how well this town is riding out the storm right now. And the school department is riding it out as well. The fact that the town and the school side work so well together is really important, and it's just been wonderful that cooperation, level of cooperation. And it works for our students. They benefit. And the idea that so many hours has been put into this, I hope and I think that parents will be glad to send in Kleenex and pencils, and if some of us can send in extra next year instead of less, I think that will work. And every time I go to look at it, I get nervous, and it's always meets my expectations beyond. And the idea that we're doing the capital funding of those items, that's a huge thing. And hopefully people at town meeting, we'll have to vote for that at town meeting. And hopefully the people will agree that that's what should be happening. And so I want to thank you, Mrs. Benton, and all of your group. everybody who helped on this is marvelous.
Big thank you to Mr. Ruggiero.
And Mr. Ruggiero, is this called, what's that called, by fire?
Baptism by fire.
Baptism by fire.
Paul, I need
Thank you.
another $223.
And he's always smiling, so we appreciate it. Thank you so much. So we will be having a budget hearing on that in March. All right, new business is our current financial report.
In your packet is the latest FY09 financial report prepared by Mr. Ruggiero. And if you would acknowledge.
Mr. Ruggiero.
As you know, the total appropriation for FY09 was $29,259,500. Through February 2nd, the date of the report, we had spent $14,720,000 and encumbered through the PO process an additional $13,441,000, leaving a balance as of February 2nd, I should say, of $1,097,854. And I've given you some of the areas where there's budget variances, a deficit of $1,000 or greater, as well as, excuse me, there's a couple of motions in here. As we had spoke earlier, there's a few programs that actually move from one school to another school. So and there's I think the third page of your document requests that I can move funds from one line item to another line item to cover the movement of certain programs, as well as an additional motion to allocate the circuit breaker offset amongst the 3 special education tuition lines.
And I'm going to ask the members to hold on to this paper and bring it to the next meeting, because we go over this in case there's any more questions, and since it's not imperative that it's done, we'll take those motions at the next meeting. We'll plan on that, so people can think about it. If you have any questions that you don't have tonight, please ask Mr. Ruggiero in between now and the next meeting. Does anyone have any questions on this report at this point?
I submitted some questions earlier today that he's going to get back to me, so I think on that one, that's it. So.
If I could add one.
Yes, please do.
We had talked earlier about energy audit, and that is going to occur. It's been delayed, but February vacation is tentatively planned. George Hoop has done a lot of work with Reading Municipal Light, and he's going to be coordinating that, and they're going to go through the schools. One thing we are doing, hopefully during February vacation, is change the lighting out of the cafeteria with new energy-efficient lighting. There's an upfront cost that the schools will absorb, but then there's a rebate program through Reading Municipal Light, and there's projected savings there by more energy-efficient lighting. Once that's done, we'll take a look at it, make sure it's what we want, and then George had also spoke about doing the gym at the north as well as a first too, so that'll be the next thing we do. So we are moving forward in some of those energy savings initiatives.
Okay, thank you. We're all set? Okay, our next item of new business would be preschool tuition. Do you want Jean to?
Yes, she's here for another reason.
Okay, but do you want not to go on this?
I can talk about it.
Okay, okay.
We come before you this evening with a proposal, recommendation to set the 2009-2010 preschool tuition rate at $2,725. As you know, the current tuition amount is $2,450. This tuition is for regular ed students to attend the preschool at the Boutwell and at the Wildwood. If you recall, in the last packet, the revolving account, that we have had a deficit in that account, and we're trying to bring it back to a neutral line, so we're recommending an increase in tuition. The tuition increase would come to $27.50 per month. We also provided you with surrounding communities' tuition rates, and we ask that you vote this at the March 11th meeting.
Did anyone have any questions on this? Ms. O'Connell?
I had a question I had posed the question, offline, is looking at the cost for this year's tuition and what it was in previous years. So year over year, have we had an increase to this year? I don't have that information.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes. And I can give you a little history of the tuition. In 2001, it was $1,700. The same amount in 2002 and 2003. In 2004, it was $1,800. 2005, $2,000. And $2,100, $2,275, $2,400 in FY08. It's $2,450 this year.
Thank you. Because when I looked at this, I looked at it from a couple of different ways. I understand the overall recommendation. I understand now better with the history and what we're trying to accomplish. And obviously, when I look at it at a monthly breakout at $2,750, to me, it doesn't seem like a lot, and I can rationalize it. But when I look at the increase of $275, and I say it's an 11.22% increase year over year, so that bump up year over year for this year is what I'm having a tough time resonating with, but respectfully understanding where the recommendation is coming from. So that's what I'm kind of struggling with, is the 11.22% increase.
And I can understand it. I just want to remind you that it is a voluntary program. It's a perk. It's parents paid the tuition. We always have lottery because there are so many parents that want to get into the program. So we've always had to turn people away. And it's not a given. I mean, it's something people are looking for. So, but I understand what your struggle with it.
Right. And then to that point also too, I also know to go out into the private sector and secure the same type of program. I don't believe, in some instances, I don't think you could replicate such a diverse, well-rounded program. And certainly the cost would be much higher than that. The other question I had was that I see that the enrollment is a 15-student level. Is there any option, or is there a state mandate that it has to be at 15?
It's state mandated with the equal the special ed students. You can only we only have 8 slots.
Okay.
Mrs. Peterson?
And just quickly, that's 4 days a week, 2.5 hours? Thank you.
And, again, we're trying to rectify a deficit. You might want to do it over time. It's up to you if you want to come back with something.
Well, we won't vote on this till March 11th either, so if you have any questions in between now and then, feel free to call Mr. Ruggiero, call or email, or go in and visit, whichever.
And Mr. Ruggiero is going to give you all his email tonight because you're all using the wrong email.
He doesn't fit the nomenclature?
No, he's got a little dot in there somewhere.
Thank you, that's
That's what the problem is.
I guess I want to ask you about that
Went to
question
God.
sheet I sent.
All right. Delegations. Do we have delegations? No? Just visiting. Oh, okay, great. Board members' questions and comments. Mrs. Cushing.
Just one with Mrs. Benton's help. At Rotary, last year at Rotary, at the end of the year, we had some money left over, and the then President, Margaret Doherty, came to me and asked me if the schools needed anything, and I think we all know this, and we talked to Mrs. Benton and earmarked $5,000 for a writing lab, portable writing lab for the high school. And I got an email from Neil Ellis last week saying that they had found matching funds. So today at Rotary, they, not me, I had to come back here for a meeting, presented the schools with a check for $5,000, and it's matched by, Mrs. Benton can help me, for portable
devices and the gift account in order to purchase a portable writing lab for the English department, which is a cart with laptop computers and a printer attached on top, and it's wireless, so if they wanted to go outside and teach a poetry class outside on the green and have the students write their thoughts. We now, thanks to Rotary and Analog, have a new writing lab for the high school English department, and publicly thank Rotary. And I did say, you missed this at Rotary, but I really thanked Margaret for challenging us to find matching funds. It was, when she had come before us and we really need $15,000. Now I can only give you $5,000, but I'll only give it to you. We had brought her in last year to talk about it, if, you can find matching funds, and we did it.
It was exciting, and they had a slideshow, and it was really good, so I'm very pleased about that. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mrs. Duffy.
No, just I think that the play, as well as Joanne said, was excellent at the high school. Good thing we have all those Eagle Scouts on the group, because the set was incredible. And I also wanted to thank the Historical Commission. These booklets, I've seen a couple of them, but the sports one is really funny. I hadn't seen that one. So there's a lot of names in here from Wilmington that continue to hang around, which is really fun to look at. But I think that that's really nice. I think that there is a really good connection and bond between the Historical Commission and the schools. I've seen it at the elementary level when my students were there, and as well as I see it at the high school, where one of my daughters presently is, that in her high school social studies classes, that they've been encouraged during different activities that are held at the house that they attend, and the teachers are very excited and supportive of that. So I think that that is a really nice connection, and I'm glad that we support and foster that. So that's all this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Higgins?
Nothing today.
Hey. Ms. O'Connell?
Any comments I have already been said. Just touch upon anything goes. I was able to attend that. Unfortunately, I had to depart a little bit early, but it was outstanding. And you, Nick, are very good at your role. You were like almost in character. It was like quite amazing. And your tantrum episode was perhaps my most favorite, when you were being carried out. But you had to see it to know what was going on. But the set and just the musicians, and I just am in awe. I've been to all the performances since I've been part of the committee, and they get better and better every year. And I'm thrilled that they added more performances, because I almost didn't get in last year, which is so. Just wanted to also put another point in for Relay for Life. I think that's a great charity, and I think tomorrow night's information session should be outstanding. And what an event, and it's, obviously cancer is something that doesn't discriminate, and I think it joins us all together, and I think something like this is a great town activity, and it will inject some spirit and hope towards a worthy cause. So I'm hoping people will get on board with that, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Peterson?
Nothing tonight.
Dr. Quick?
I just want to say, echo the sentiments of Ms. O'Connell, and of course, everybody. By the time it gets to me, everybody's always said what I want to say, so that's all for this evening.
Thank you. I'd just like to mention the Wilmington Reads that's going on for the month of March. This is another opportunity that comes every 2 years for the schools and the public library to work together. And on March 4th at the middle school will be the opening event, where a professor who actually teaches the book that we're doing this year is The Things That They Carried by Tim O'Brien. And we're really hoping that a number of people can come to the opening night at 7 o'clock at the middle school. And a wonderful thing about it is, on the committee, we have a high school teacher, Claire Hitchler, who is actually a member of the Wilmington Reads Committee, and kind of organizes the teachers at the high school. And the teachers in the high school have been so wonderful about participating. And Principal Tracy, once again, is going to run, I love this event. You go to the senior center, and 2 or 3 classes come over, and the seniors who have a book club on a regular basis meet and have a discussion with the senior students. And Mr. Tracy directs the conversation, and it's really impressive really impressive, and the senior citizens get so much out of it, and they get such a kick out of the senior students, high school students. It's the different events are fantastic. So at the library, they already have lots of the books if you'd like to get them, and there's a booklet that describes all of the events that will happen in the month of March, and it's really outstanding. We decided on, nobody on that committee wanted the things that they carried, and we don't know how we ended up with it, but because of the Vietnam Memorial Wall coming here, but it was interesting, a number of us were in my age group where we never, and I thought it was just me, because the Vietnam War hit you so directly with people you knew and everything, we've never read any of the books about Vietnam. We had never participated in anything about the Vietnam War, and I think you have to be in your early 20s, I'll say. No, no, you have to be going on to 60 here in that age group for the 1960s to understand what that felt like. And as we went around the table, we were all mentioning, I can't read this book. Well, in the end, I'm on it for the second time, and it's a fascinating book. It is fiction, but based on reality, and trying to figure out what the actual facts are and what is part of the fiction is part of the fun of the book. And, great, thank you. Let me see, so, yep, that's it for now.
Canceling the February 20th.
Yes, I'm going to do that. Before we go further, though, I'm going to just appoint, Joan Duffy is going to work with me on the Superintendent's Contract Subcommittee. Joan will be the chair of that subcommittee. So we'll be starting work on that. Let me see, 1 minute, that's under other reports and correspondence. They're done tonight. Future meeting dates and agenda items. We are going to be canceling our February 25th meeting. And we will be meeting, it will actually be meeting 3 times in March if we count March 3rd. March 3rd will be meeting before the Finance Committee, so you don't need to come. We'll see you there. No, March 3rd is the Finance Committee. March 11th will be our next actual regular meeting, and we will have a public hearing on the budget, and we will vote the budget that night. And then the second meeting in March is the 25th, March 25th, the second meeting in March. Let me see, is that it? Yes, that's great. Any other, all set? I'd like to say it's really nice to see people in the audience. We appreciate it. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. No one wants to leave. I love that.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Second. All those in favor? Mrs. Peterson, second. All those in favor?